She won't say it directly, but deep down her mind is screaming questions she can't voice. The truth is, every woman has a hidden way of revealing desire. Two questions that, if you understand them, can completely change the way she sees you. Most men miss these signals and stay in the friend zone, unaware of what she really wants. Today, I'm going to uncover exactly what she's thinking, the subtle signs that are screaming attraction, and how you can respond in a way that sparks desire without chasing or begging. Watch closely, because what I'm about to share will open your eyes to a world of female psychology most men never see. Comment below where you're watching from, and make sure to subscribe. It could be the moment that changes everything for you. You see, the first thing you need to understand is that women rarely, if ever, say exactly what they feel. Most men spend their entire lives waiting for a woman to tell them directly, thinking, if she wants me, she'll just say it. But life doesn't work that way, and desire, true desire, rarely comes with a neon sign. What she communicates, consciously or unconsciously, is layered with meaning. It's subtle, almost hidden, and that's where most men completely miss it. They see a question about your plans or your past and dismiss it as casual curiosity. But in reality, she's testing, probing, trying to understand if you're someone worth her attention, her energy, her time. Every glance, every pause, every carefully worded question is a small thread, and if you're paying attention, you can begin to see the pattern. It starts with observation. Women speak in two languages, the words they say, and the signals their body sends without them even realizing it. Eye contact is one of the most powerful tools of communication. When she holds your gaze longer than necessary, it isn't accidental. It's an invitation, a subtle probe to see if you notice her interest. The way she moves when you're around, how she positions herself in conversation, even the tone of her laughter. All of these are clues. Most men, however, are blind to them because they're trained to rely on words alone. But desire, true attraction, is rarely verbal. It exists in the spaces between words, in gestures, in timing. Another important aspect is the questions she asks. On the surface, they may seem innocent or mundane. Questions about your day, your work, your hobbies. But here's the thing. Women aren't asking these questions because they're curious about your favorite movie or your commute. They're trying to map out who you are, to see if you fit the life she imagines for herself. She's evaluating in a quiet, careful way whether you have the stability, confidence, or energy that sparks her interest. And the men who fail to see this often give the wrong answer, reveal insecurity, or simply miss the opportunity to connect on a deeper level. It's also crucial to understand the emotional undertone behind her questions and actions. Women are naturally wired to sense energy, tension, and intention. If you respond with hesitation, over explaining, or a lack of confidence, she picks up on it instantly. But if you respond with calm assurance, with clarity and presence, her subtle cues start to amplify rather than diminish. She feels your stability, your strength, your grounded energy, and that draws her in without a word being spoken. This is why the art of noticing, really noticing, is so critical. Every slight tilt of the head, every moment of laughter that lingers a beat too long, every question she repeats or returns to, is not random. It is deliberate. Let's be clear. This isn't about manipulation. It's not about decoding a puzzle to trick her. It's about awareness. Life becomes infinitely richer when you understand the dynamics of human behavior at this level. When you begin to notice the signals she sends, you start to understand not only her desires but the unspoken social and emotional currents that guide attraction. You see the world in layers rather than surface-level interactions. And this awareness doesn't just apply to women. It transforms how you navigate relationships, friendships, even your career. The challenge is that most men aren't trained to see this. From a young age, we're told to speak, to act, to prove ourselves. Rarely are we taught to pause, observe, and reflect. But pausing, observing, and reflecting is exactly how you start to perceive her desire. It's a psychological skill that requires patience and attention. You have to slow down your mind and let the subtleties reveal themselves. Notice the questions she asks, yes, but also notice what she doesn't say. Absence, silence, and the things left unsaid are often louder than any words. At the end of the day, recognizing her subtle signals is about respect and presence, respecting her complexity, her mind, her desires, and being present enough to perceive them. Once you do, you're no longer guessing or misinterpreting. You're participating consciously in the dance of human connection. You start to anticipate her feelings, respond appropriately, and build an unspoken chemistry that is far more powerful than words alone. Desire, after all, isn't declared, it's felt, and when you understand how to read it, how to feel it, you hold a rare and valuable skill in your hands. So take a moment to commit to seeing what others miss. Pay attention to the little things. Notice the energy, the timing, the repeated questions, and the gestures that seem almost too small to matter. These are the breadcrumbs she leaves. And if you follow them, you'll not only understand her desire, you'll awaken a deeper level of connection that most men never even know exists. She won't say it directly, because desire is a language of subtlety. But when you learn to observe, to listen, and to understand without needing words, you step into a new level of awareness. And in that awareness lies power, not to manipulate, but to connect, to respond, and to create something real. The moment you start noticing, really noticing, the world opens up in ways you never imagined. Now, let's dive into something most men completely miss. Even when a woman is interested, she won't come out and say it. She won't hand you a clear sign that says, "I desire you." Instead, she asks questions, and not just any questions. There are two types that carry far more weight than you realize. These questions are the hidden language of attraction. If you learn to understand them, you begin to see desire in a way most men never do. And more importantly, you learn how to respond in a way that amplifies the connection rather than shutting it down. The first question she asks is about your intentions and availability. On the surface, it may seem casual, almost innocent. She might ask, "What are you looking for?" Or, "Are you seeing anyone?" To an untrained ear, it's just a question about your life. But dig deeper, and you see the psychological purpose behind it. She's not just asking to fill her curiosity. She's testing the possibility of a future with you. She wants to know if you are emotionally and practically available, if you are someone who can meet her unspoken standards. She's quietly evaluating whether you have the capacity to hold her attention, her time, and eventually her heart. What's important to understand here is that she isn't seeking a perfect answer. She's seeking authenticity. She's listening to the confidence behind your words, the calm assurance in your tone, and the consistency of your presence. If you respond with hesitation, over explaining, or uncertainty, she registers it instantly. But if you answer with clarity, grounded confidence, and honesty, you're demonstrating qualities that many women find irresistible: stability, emotional intelligence, and self-respect. That's why the way you answer matters far more than the words themselves. It's your presence, your energy, and the subtle cues you give that communicate value beyond your answer. The second question she asks revolves around your lifestyle, experiences, and choices. She might ask something like, "Have you traveled much?" Or, "What do you usually do for fun?" Again, on the surface it seems mundane. But in reality, she's trying to map the contours of your life to see if it aligns with her desires. She wants to understand if you live in a way that excites her, challenges her, or complements her own vision of life. These questions are a test of compatibility, not just curiosity. and they reveal much more than your hobbies. They reveal your energy, your passions, and your capacity for adventure or stability. Here's where most men fail. They answer mechanically, without understanding the underlying purpose of her question. They give simple, factual responses, or worse, they overcompensate in an attempt to impress. But the truth is, she isn't seeking a list of accomplishments. She's seeking insight into your character. She's assessing whether you bring an energy into her life that she finds attractive, stimulating, and safe. The questions themselves are a window into her desires. They reveal what she values, what excites her, and what draws her attention. Understanding these two questions requires a deeper awareness of human psychology. Desire is rarely straightforward because vulnerability is involved. Women are wired to test subtly because directly expressing desire carries risk. She risks rejection, judgment, or being misinterpreted. So instead, she asks questions that allow her to gauge your worth, your confidence, and your potential without explicitly stating her feelings. She's sending signals, little invitations that say, I'm curious, I'm interested, I want to see how you respond. And your job is to notice them, interpret them correctly, and respond in a way that meets her energy rather than avoiding it. The beauty of these questions is that they provide a roadmap if you're willing to pay attention. They allow you to see not only that she's interested, but why she's interested, and how you can deepen that attraction. You don't have to guess, overthink, or misread signals. When you recognize the purpose behind the question, you can respond in a way that aligns with her desire, demonstrates your value, and strengthens the unspoken chemistry between you. But this isn't just about attraction. This is about presence, emotional intelligence, and awareness. When you respond thoughtfully, you're showing that you understand her world, that you respect her subtle communication, and that you can hold space for her curiosity without becoming defensive or anxious. You're stepping into a higher level of interaction, one where both of you are fully engaged in a dynamic of mutual interest. You're no longer chasing or guessing. You're participating consciously with clarity and confidence. So, as you leave this idea with you, remember that these questions are far more than words. They are signals, tests, and invitations. They reveal desire in ways that nothing else can. And if you learn to notice them, understand their purpose, and respond appropriately, you unlock a level of connection most men never experience. It's not magic. It's observation, awareness, and deliberate action. The key takeaway here is simple. She won't always say what she feels, but her questions tell the story. The way you listen, interpret, and respond can either open the door to deeper attraction or close it entirely. Paying attention, understanding, and acting with intention is what separates the men who remain invisible from the men who are unforgettable. Her desire, it's not in the words she asks, not in the questions she asks. Learn to see the meaning behind them, respond with presence and confidence, and you step into a connection that most men only dream of. Notice, understand, act, and watch how the unspoken becomes undeniable. Now that you understand how to recognize her subtle signals and decode the questions she asks, the next critical step is knowing how to respond. This is where many men falter. They see the signs, they hear the questions, but they don't know how to meet the energy she's offering. Responding is not about clever lines, manipulation, or trying to impress her with facts about your life. Responding is about presence, confidence, and emotional resonance. It's about creating a dynamic where she feels seen, valued, and understood, without you overcompensating or losing yourself in the process. When she asks those two revealing questions, the ones about your availability and your lifestyle, your response communicates far more than your words. It communicates your energy, your stability, and your emotional intelligence. Women are naturally attuned to subtle cues. They notice how long you pause before answering, Whether your tone carries calm assurance or nervousness, whether your eyes meet hers with sincerity or dart away, every detail matters. Most men focus only on the content of the answer, but she's listening to the delivery, the confidence, and the consistency of your presence. This is where attraction is either amplified or diminished. The first response she's seeking is rooted in authenticity. When she asks about your intentions, she doesn't want a rehearsed line. She wants honesty delivered with clarity. If you respond with hesitation, uncertainty, or over-explaining, you signal insecurity, and that kills attraction. But if you answer with quiet confidence, even if your answer is simple, you demonstrate emotional maturity and self-assurance. You show her that you understand yourself, your life, and your desires, and that you are capable of holding space for hers. There is a subtle but powerful psychological truth here. Confidence communicates value, and value fuels desire. The second response, the one she seeks regarding your experiences, lifestyle, or passions, is slightly different. She's not simply curious about what you do, she's gauging the energy you bring into the world. This is why the way you frame your answer matters. You don't need to boast or exaggerate, but you do need to communicate a sense of purpose, engagement, and enthusiasm for your life. When you speak about your passions, your choices, and the experiences that shape you, she feels your energy. She feels your vibrancy, and that energy creates attraction far more effectively than a list of accomplishments ever could. One of the most important aspects of responding is subtle mirroring. When she reveals something about herself, either through her words or her body language, matching her energy in a natural, unforced way creates a sense of connection. This is not mimicry, it's resonance. It's aligning with the rhythm of her communication without losing your own authenticity. When done correctly, it signals empathy, attentiveness, and a shared understanding, all of which are powerful drivers of attraction. Equally important is the ability to hold your ground. Many men misinterpret attraction as an invitation to please, chase, or accommodate. But desire grows when there is balance, when you remain engaged, responsive, and interested, yet maintain your independence and self-respect. This is where the psychological dance takes place. She is watching not only your words, but your consistency, your boundaries, and your willingness to be present without overextending yourself. This balance communicates strength and self-assurance, qualities that ignite deep attraction. Another element to consider is timing. The way you respond to her questions in the moment matters as much as the content of your answer. Quick, reactive answers often signal nervousness or insecurity, while overly slow, overthought responses can signal overcalculation. The sweet spot is calm, deliberate, confident engagement. Pausing briefly to collect your thoughts before responding demonstrates presence and mindfulness, while ensuring your answers carry weight and authority. She notices this, even if she cannot articulate it. This shapes her perception of your one principle. This all comes down to a one principle. You cannot build on a where's your desire, but you can manufacture the desire. Power it manufacture desiring, but you respond in ways that cultivate it. By understanding her signals, interpreting her questions, and responding with presence, confidence, and resonance, you create a magnetic dynamic. One that doesn't require games, manipulation, or pretending to be someone you're not. Instead, it's a conscious, intelligent engagement with human psychology, understanding that desire is as much about how you communicate energy as it is about what you say. Ultimately, responding effectively is about transformation. It transforms casual curiosity into deep interest. It transforms subtle signals into undeniable attraction, and it transforms the interaction from a guessing game into a conscious, engaging exchange. This is why so many men fail. They see the signs, they hear the questions, but they respond incorrectly, either from fear, insecurity, or lack of awareness. But when you respond with presence, clarity, and emotional intelligence, you step into a space that few men occupy, a space of magnetic authority, respect, and connection. So, as you reflect on everything we've covered, the signals, the questions, the responses, understand this. Attraction is not something you force. It's something you cultivate. And cultivation begins with awareness, understanding, and deliberate action. By responding correctly to her signals, you don't just create interest. You create an environment where desire can flourish naturally and powerfully. Her desire is a mirror of your awareness. When you respond with presence, confidence, and clarity, you don't just answer her questions. You awaken a connection that speaks louder than words. Notice, interpret, respond, and watch attraction rise effortlessly, turning subtle signals into undeniable chemistry.